It was past midnight. The wind howled outside like a lost wolf. Rain tapped on the windows like small fingers. Jack sat alone in his small cabin, reading an old book and sipping cold coffee. He lived deep in the woods far from town where no one came without reason. Then, he heard it. At first he thought it was the wind again. But no, the sound was different. It was a cry. A small, sharp cry. Jack stood up, heart pounding. He walked to the door and opened it slowly. The cold wind hit his face like a slap. He stepped outside, the wet wooden porch creaking under his boots. The cry came again. Weak, desperate, not human. He followed the sound to the corner of his porch. There, under the old bench, was something small, a bundle wrapped in dirty, torn cloth. Jack knelt down, pulled the bundle closer, and froze. It was a baby, but not like any baby he had seen. Its skin was light blue, its eyes were too big, its tiny hands had only 3 fingers, but it cried like any other baby, soft, broken, afraid. Jack looked around. No one was there. Just empty woods, rain, and darkness. "Where's your mother?" he whispered. The baby made a small choking sound and shivered. Jack didn't wait. He picked the baby up, ran inside, and shut the door tight. He placed the child on a blanket by the fire and searched for something warm. He found a clean towel and wrapped it gently around the small body. The baby stopped crying and looked at him. Its glowing eyes blinked slowly, as if trying to understand. Jack stared back. "What are you?" The baby didn't answer, of course. But it reached out with one tiny hand and touched his chest. Suddenly, a strange warmth spread through Jack's heart. He didn't know what it meant, but he knew one thing. He couldn't let this child go back out into that cold night. He fed the baby warm milk using a spoon. It didn't eat much, but it stopped shaking. Soon it fell asleep, tiny chest rising and falling gently. Jack sighed. "What am I supposed to do with you?" He sat back in the chair thinking. Maybe someone had abandoned the child, but why? Who would leave a baby, an alien baby, out here in the forest? Lightning flashed outside. Then Jack saw it. Footprints. His breath caught. He stood up and looked out the window. The prints were in the mud, leading from the woods to his porch, and then away again. They were light, like someone crawling. But they were too big to belong to the baby. He grabbed a flashlight and opened the door. Rain hit him again, but he didn't care. He followed the tracks down the porch steps, past the old tree stump, into the trees. The footprints were strange. 3 toes, long stride, and drops of blood. His flashlight flickered. The rain grew heavier. He should have turned back, but something told him to keep walking. The trail led him deeper into the woods. Every few steps he saw blood. Not a lot, but enough to say someone was hurt, badly. Then he saw it. Just beyond the trees by the edge of the creek lay a figure. It was curled on its side, barely moving. Wet hair covered the face. The body shook with every breath. Jack moved closer and gasped. It was a woman, not human. Her skin was the same light blue. Her arms had glowing marks. She wore scraps of silver cloth and thin wrappings on her legs. Her back had deep cuts, some still bleeding. She looked like she had crawled all the way to his cabin. Then, turned back, Jack knelt beside her. Hey, can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open. They glowed softly in the dark. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Just a soft, painful whisper. Baby. Jack nodded. "She's safe. I found her." Tears rolled down the woman's cheeks. She tried to lift her hand but collapsed again. Without thinking, Jack lifted her into his arms. She was light, too light, like she hadn't eaten in days. Her head rested against his shoulder as he walked back through the storm. As he reached the porch, he whispered, "Who left you like this?" Inside, the baby made a soft sound. As soon as Jack stepped into the room, the baby's eyes lit up. It reached toward the woman. The alien mother opened her eyes again. A weak smile touched her lips. Then she passed out. Jack stood there holding the strange woman, a glowing baby staring up at both of them. He didn't know their names. He didn't know their story. But in that moment he knew they were his responsibility. True, the storm had passed by morning, but the air still smelled like rain and danger. Jack stood by the cabin window watching the muddy ground where footprints had been. The baby was asleep wrapped in warm cloth by the fire. The alien mother still lay unconscious in the guest room. Her breathing was slow but steady. Jack had questions. So many questions. Where did she come from? Who hurt her? Why did she leave her baby on his porch? But he knew he wouldn't get answers just by sitting inside. So he grabbed his boots, flashlight, and an old army knife. Before leaving, he checked on the baby one more time. Still sleeping. Then he stepped outside. The early sun broke through the trees, but the woods still felt cold and quiet. Too quiet. Jack followed the muddy footprints from the night before. They led past the tall pine tree, down a slope and toward the creek. He noticed more clearly now. Drops of blood every few feet. The leaves were red. The ground was torn. She must have crawled through thorns, dragging herself just to leave the baby at his door. Why? His boots squished through wet soil as he moved. He reached the creek's edge and saw broken branches, crushed plants, and, half buried in the dirt, a piece of metal. He picked it up. It was part of her clothing, torn, burned. Some strange glowing dust stuck to it, flickering like tiny stars. Jack stood up slowly. That's when he heard it. Snap, a branch, broken, close. He froze. Another sound, a low hum, like a machine purring, but soft, hidden. He turned slowly and saw nothing, but something was out there, watching. Jack crouched low and moved through the trees like a hunter. His heart pounded in his ears. Every footstep felt loud. The forest was thick here, shadows twisting between tall trees. Then he saw it, a black mark on a tree. Burned, like laser fire. He moved closer and found more marks, scorch lines across tree trunks, like someone had been shooting or chasing. Jack's stomach turned. Someone had hunted her. Just ahead, he saw a spot where the mud was torn up badly. A struggle. Claw marks in the ground. A thin rope, snapped in two. Chains. Jack touched the broken rope. It had some kind of alien metal laced into. It's still warm. That's when he realized they were still here. Somewhere. His eyes scanned the forest. Still nothing. But his instincts screamed. He turned and made his way back fast. He moved quicker now. Not running, but fast enough. He needed to get back to the cabin, to the mother, to the baby. When he reached the edge of the woods, he stopped. There was a shadow on his porch. Someone, or something, was standing by his door. Jack froze behind a tree, barely breathing. The shape moved, tall, thin, wearing black armor. Not human. The creature tapped on his door with long fingers, then crouched down, as if sniffing the wood, looking for the baby. Jack gripped his knife tight. He knew he couldn't win a fight like this, but he had to protect them. Before he could decide, the creature stood and turned. A flash of red light blinked from its helmet. Then, like smoke, it faded into the trees. Gone. Jack waited another minute. Then he ran to the cabin. Inside, everything was still. The baby had woken and was making soft sounds. The mother had turned her head slightly. She looked at Jack with heavy eyes. They follow, she whispered. Jack kneeled beside her. I saw one, out there, but he didn't come in. She closed her eyes. They hunt. Mothers. Take children. Sell them. Pain. Her voice cracked. She looked away, Jack felt sick. Why you leave the baby? She turned her face toward him again. Better she live, even without me. Her words were heavy with sorrow. Jack clenched his jaw. No. You're both staying. I'll protect you, she shook her head weakly. They, strong, kill humans. Find us. Jack stood. Let them try. He walked to the window, looked at the forest again, and made a decision. He would reinforce the house, lock every door, barricade the cellar, set traps, prepare for anything. This was his land, his home, and he wasn't letting anyone take them. Not now, not ever. The fire burned low inside the cabin. Rain had stopped, but the air was still heavy. Jack sat at the edge of the bed, watching the alien woman sleep. She was pale and breathing slowly. Her body shook every now and then, maybe from pain or fear. The baby lay beside her now, curled up against her chest. Its skin glowed a little when it touched her. It made a soft sound, something like a purr and a sigh mixed together. Jack had never seen anything like it. He had wrapped her wounds as best he could. But she needed real help, medicine, maybe even surgery. Yet he couldn't take her to a hospital. They'd never understand. They'd report her. Or worse. He stood up and went to the window. The trees stood still, but Jack felt eyes out there, watching, waiting. He made his decision then. He would help her, no matter what came. Suddenly, a sound behind him. Movement. He turned and saw her, eyes open. She sat up quickly, chest rising fast, breathing sharp. She looked at him with wild fear, her arms stretched across the baby. No hurt, she cried out, her voice raspy. Jack raised both hands. I won't hurt you or the child. She stared at him, confused. Then she looked around the cabin. Her gaze landed on the fire, the food on the table, the cloth bandaged around her arm. She blinked. You helped? Jack nodded. I found your baby on my porch. She was cold. She was crying. He walked slowly to the chair and sat down. I followed the tracks. I found you. She looked down at the baby and then back at Jack. You're not one of them? Jack tilted his head. One of who? Her voice dropped low. Hunters. They take mothers, sell babies, trade them. For war, for lab, for fun. Jack's jaw clenched. The baby let out a soft whimper. The woman touched her head gently and rocked her with a whisper Jack couldn't understand. He watched her for a moment, then spoke again. Why did you leave her at my door? She looked at the wall, her voice empty now. I thought, if she cry loud enough, maybe someone kind will find her. Not like them. I was going to die anyway. Jack shook his head. But you didn't. He stood and pointed to her. You made it back. You crawled back, bleeding, dying, and still turned around when she was safe. Her eyes filled with tears, but she said nothing. I've seen soldiers break easier than you, Jack added quietly. She blinked hard, then whispered, Name is, Sira. Jack gave a soft smile. Sira, that's beautiful. He pointed to himself. Jack. She nodded slowly. Jack, human. He chuckled. Last I checked. Then, something strange happened. The baby turned toward Jack and reached out her hand. A soft light passed from her fingers and touched Jack's chest again, just like before. But this time, Sira gasped. She chose, she said, eyes wide. Jack frowned. What do you mean? Sira looked at her child, then at Jack. In my world, children bond with protector. Their first touch shows who they trust, who they feel safe with. Jack looked down at his chest where the baby had touched him. She trusts me? Sira nodded. She calls you guardian, maybe even father. The words hit him hard. He was quiet for a while. Then he spoke. I live alone. I hunt. I fish. I fix things. I don't talk much, never wanted a family. He paused. But now I have 2 people sleeping under my roof who are being hunted, and one of them calls me protector. He looked at Sira with steady eyes. So I guess I've changed. Sira's voice shook. You would help us? Even when it's dangerous? Jack smiled sadly. I've done many things in life, some good, some not. But this? Helping a mother and her child? That's something I can live with. Sira stared at him, her lips trembling. Then, for the first time, she nodded and trusted him. But just then, a sharp beep. From outside. Jack jumped to the window. A tiny red dot blinked on a tree. Sira whispered in horror. Tracking device. Jack grabbed the blanket from under Sira. He found it. A tiny black chip stuck in the cloth the baby had been wrapped in. He threw it into the fire. It sparked, burned, vanished. But they were already coming. Jack turned to her. We have to prepare. Tonight. Sira's hands shook. They will kill you. Jack grabbed his hunting rifle. Let them try. The next morning came quietly, too quietly. No birds, no wind, no peace. Jack stood on his front porch with a pair of old binoculars, his breath fogged in the cold air. Behind him, Sira and the baby were hiding in the root cellar under the cabin floor. He had stacked heavy boxes over the trapdoor, just in case. Then he saw them. 2 black vans. They rolled down the dirt road slowly. No headlights, no sound, but the crunch of tires on gravel. They stopped a short distance from the trees, just out of sight for normal eyes, but not for Jack. He knew they didn't belong here. No plates on the vans, no mud on the tires. Shiny, clean. Government or worse. A moment later, 4 figures stepped out. Black suits, dark sunglasses. One had a metal case. Another held a scanner that beeped quietly as it pointed toward Jack's property. They're close, Jack whispered to himself. He went back inside, locked the door, and checked the cellar hatch. Still secure. Sira looked up at him from below, her eyes full of fear. The baby slept in her arms, unaware. They are here, aren't they? She asked quietly. Jack nodded. Yes, but they haven't knocked yet. She closed her eyes, holding her child tighter. They don't knock. They take. Jack sat by the door, rifle across his lap. He was no stranger to danger. He had faced bears, armed thieves, wild storms. But this felt different. Smarter, more planned. After half an hour, it came. A knock. Not hard. Not soft. A cold, careful knock. 3 times. Jack stood. He opened the door just enough to see the man on the porch. Clean suit. Black tie. No expression. Good morning, sir, the man said. Sorry to bother you. We're with a wildlife control agency. There were sightings nearby, dangerous species. May we step in? Jack kept his face blank. Wildlife? I haven't seen anything. The man smiled slightly, but his eyes didn't. There were reports from your area. Heat signatures, strange activity. We're just making sure everyone is safe. I live alone, Jack lied. Saw nothing, heard nothing. Try the next town. The man leaned a little, closer. We're authorized to search any place showing abnormal energy spikes. Just routine. Jack's eyes narrowed. You got a warrant? The man didn't blink. You live far off grid, Mr. Taylor. Who would you call? Jack stepped back and shut the door in the man's face. Then, he moved fast. He bolted the door, blocked the windows, turned off the lights, grabbed every battery, water jug, and dry food he could find. He tossed them into the cellar one by one. They'll try to break in soon, he told Sira. She nodded. Her hands were shaking. You should run. Save yourself. Jack stared at her. And leave you too? Never. Sira looked down. No one ever helped us before. Jack smiled. Well, now someone does. Suddenly, crack! A window shattered. Jack spun, rifle raised, a drone, small, black, fast, buzzed inside. It scanned the room with red lights. Jack fired. The drone exploded in sparks and hit the floor, smoking. But it was too late. They knew. From outside, he heard a man yell, "Breach!" Footsteps rushed toward the house. Jack turned to the cellar. "They're coming! Get deep! Stay quiet!" Sierra pulled the baby closer and whispered something in a language Jack didn't understand. The trapdoor slammed, shut over them. Jack moved the crates back. Then he grabbed his rifle and stood by the door. He wasn't going down without a fight. The front door burst open. 2 men in black suits rushed in. Jack fired once. 1 fell. The second shot hit the wall. Jack ducked. Behind the couch as lasers burned through wood. A third man entered, taller, no gun, just a glowing rod in his hand. Jack peeked from cover. The man looked at the wall, scanning it slowly. He walked toward the cellar hatch. Jack gritted his teeth and aimed. Boom! The rod man dropped, hit in the shoulder. Jack grabbed the rod from the floor and pressed a button. The room lit up with blue light. The remaining agent froze. Stunned, Jack tackled him hard. Silence. Only the fire crackled now. Jack dragged the bodies outside, hid them behind the shed. He smashed the van's tires with an axe and pulled out the wires. They weren't going anywhere. He walked back inside, covered in sweat. He lifted the hatch. Sierra looked up, shaking. "They're gone," Jack said. "For now." The smell of smoke still hung in the air. Jack stood at the edge of the woods, staring at the burning heap that used to be the black vans. The flames crackled as thick black smoke curled toward the sky. He had dragged the bodies far into the trees, buried them under mud and leaves. There could be no trail. But Jack knew this was just a delay. More would come. Behind him, the cabin stood quiet, its windows broken, walls scorched from the energy blasts. It was no longer safe. Inside, Sierra packed what little food and water she could find. Her hands trembled. Her shoulders still bled a little from the earlier chaos, but she ignored it. Her eyes stayed on her baby. The child made soft humming noises, not scared. Just calm. Like she somehow knew Jack would protect them. "We leave now," Jack said, stepping inside, "before the next wave comes." "Where will we go?" Sierra asked softly. Jack didn't hesitate. "My father's old cabin, high in the mountains. No roads, no signals, just snow and silence." Sierra's lips trembled. "Will we survive there?" Jack looked her in the eyes. "We'll survive together." By sunset, they were moving. Jack carried the baby on his chest, wrapped in layers of cloth and wool. Sierra wore his spare coat. It was big on her, dragging past her knees. But it was warm. That was all that mattered. They moved through the forest, leaving the broken house behind. Jack didn't look back. He followed a hidden path he hadn't walked in years. Up through steep hills, across frozen creeks, under low trees where branches clawed like fingers. Snow started falling by the second. "I can't keep up," Sierra whispered. Jack turned. Her face was pale. She was breathing hard, legs trembling. He looked at her wounds. She had lost more blood than he thought. "Here," he said, kneeling. Before she could argue, he picked her up. Light as a feather. The baby slept between them. "I'm slowing you down," she whispered. Jack smiled through the cold. "You already risked your life to save her. Let me carry you now." Her eyes filled with tears. She hid her face in his shoulder. They moved in silence. The forest grew darker. Shadows crept between the trees. Far away, something howled. Not a wolf. Not anything Jack had heard before. "They're tracking," Sierra whispered. Jack didn't stop walking. "Let them try." By nightfall, they reached a small cave tucked into the side of a hill. Jack had hidden supplies there years ago, just in case. He lit a small fire inside, using old dry wood and a flint he always kept on him. He set the baby down on his coat and placed Sierra beside her. The cave was cold, but it was safe. For now. Sierra looked at the flames. Her eyes reflected the firelight like tiny stars. You should have left us. You had no reason to stay. Jack sat beside her. I had every reason. No one deserves to be hunted like animals, not you, not her. She was quiet for a long time. Then she asked, Why are you alone, Jack? Jack looked at the flames. War. My unit didn't come back. I did. But I didn't come back the same. He sighed. I couldn't stay in the city. Too much noise. Too many people asking questions I didn't want to answer. Sierra touched his hand gently. You helped a stranger. That tells me your heart never broke. Just hid. Jack didn't reply. He just stared into the flames. Then, the baby stirred. She sat up and looked at Jack. Sierra whispered something in her language. The baby raised a tiny glowing hand and touched Jack's face. A warm light passed from her skin to his. Jack blinked. The pain in his shoulder eased. His breath grew deeper. His fear faded just a little. She shared her strength with you, Sierra said softly. Jack looked at her. That's not normal, is it? Sierra shook her head. No, it means she sees you as more than protector. Jack whispered. What more is there? Sierra looked down. She sees you as family. A silence settled between them. Soft. Deep. Then, boom. The ground shook. Jack jumped up and ran outside. Down in the valley, far below, he saw something rise in the sky. A dark ship, black as smoke, scanning the forest with red lights. I found the cabin, he said. Sierra stood behind him. They won't stop. Jack clenched his fists. Then neither will I. The sky wasn't black anymore. It was red. A blood-red light swept across the forest as the alien ship scanned from above. Jack watched from the mouth of the cave, hidden behind tall stones. His rifle was ready, but he knew bullets couldn't bring down that kind of monster. Sierra crouched inside the cave, holding her child close. The baby whimpered softly, her glowing eyes wide with fear. They're using heat sensors, Sierra whispered. If they catch a single spark of warmth, they'll come. Jack's mind raced. They'll hit this hill in under an hour, he said. We need to move again, but we can't. Not with her in your arms and that thing above us. Sierra's voice shook. We can't outrun them. Not anymore. Jack looked down at the weapon in his hand. So small now. So useless. He thought of the cabin, now destroyed. The bodies, the van, the tracking drone. Every time he helped them, the danger doubled. And still, he had no regrets. The baby reached out again and touched his cheek with her tiny hand. Warmth. Not heat. Something else. Calm. He breathed in. Then Sierra spoke, very softly. There's one thing I can try. Jack turned to her. What do you mean? She looked at him, tears in her eyes. My species. We have a final defense, but it takes everything. Every bit of life. It's called the soul pulse. Jack froze. What does it do? Sierra looked down at the baby. It turns the body into light, pure energy. It can blind ships, block scanners, hide others nearby, but her voice cracked. It will take me away. Jack stepped forward. No, absolutely not. You and my daughter will live, she said gently. We'll find another way. There is no other way, Jack, she shouted suddenly, and the baby flinched. Silence fell between them again. Jack's voice dropped. You leave, and she grows up without a mother. She'll never know your voice, your touch. Sierra shook her head. She'll grow up alive, and with you, someone she trusts, someone she chose. Jack looked at the child. She smiled at him, innocent and glowing. He didn't deserve this. He didn't want to lose this. Then, a sudden noise. A deep hum above the trees. The ship was closer now. Red lights began piercing through the forest, searching in straight lines. 15 minutes, maybe less. Jack's hands curled into fists. If you're going to do something, we do it together. Sierra shook her head. No, it must be done alone. Far from you. You need to take her now. Run downhill. The pulse will draw them to me. You must keep moving. Jack's heart pounded. I won't let you go alone. You already saved us more than once. Let me save you this time. She stood and kissed her baby's head one last time, whispered something only the child would understand. Then she placed the child in Jack's arms. The baby cried softly, reaching back for her mother. Sierra stepped outside the cave. The air shimmered around her skin. Her feet didn't touch the ground anymore. Her eyes glowed like suns. And then, a loud crack, like thunder. The cave lit up blue-white. Jack turned and ran with the baby in his arms. The forest behind him exploded with light. Every tree shimmered. The red scan lights blinked, confused, then shut off. The ship spun in the sky, blinded, thrown off course. Then, silence. Jack dropped behind a hill and shielded the baby. When he looked back, she was gone. No body. No sound. Nothing left but a ring of light burning in the earth like a flower made of stars. The ship rose fast, scanners broken and vanished into the sky. Jack sat still for a long time. The baby didn't cry. She just stared at the place where her mother had stood, then rested her glowing head against Jack's chest. He didn't speak, didn't move, just held her. Then, with eyes wet and heart heavy, Jack whispered, I promise you, she didn't die for nothing. I'll protect you, little one. Always. The mountain wind howled softly through the pines. It had been 1 year since the light swallowed the forest, since Sierra gave her life to save them, since Jack had held the tiny alien child close and promised to protect her no matter what. Now Jack stood on a wooden porch, a new porch. His father's old mountain cabin had been abandoned for years, but Jack had rebuilt it from the ground up. Strong logs, reinforced walls, solar panels, hidden location, safe, and in that safety, life had started again. Luma, Jack called, gently, voice smiling. From inside the cabin, a blur of blue and laughter ran out toward him. Luma, not a baby anymore. Still small, still glowing, but full of energy and curiosity. Her eyes, bright like stars, looked up at Jack with pure joy. Look, she giggled, holding up a bundle of wildflowers. I found purple ones. Jack knelt and smiled. You're getting fast. I'm faster than birds, she shouted. He ruffled her dark silver hair. Almost. Luma had changed. She now spoke perfect English, though she still whispered to the wind in her mother's language when she thought Jack wasn't listening. Sometimes she'd hum strange alien tunes while she drew pictures in the dirt. Stars, ships, a woman with glowing eyes, her mother. Jack kept one of Sierra's cloth bands beside the fireplace, wrapped in a carved wooden box. Luma had placed a crystal next to it, her first gift. They remembered her together. Every day. That evening, the sky turned orange and gold. Luma sat on the porch railing, eating sweet berries while Jack fixed a broken tool. Tell me the story again, she said. Jack paused. Which one? The day you found me. Jack leaned back in his chair, looking at the sunset. I heard crying in the storm. I thought it was an animal. But it was you, wrapped in torn cloth, glowing like a little light left out in the cold. Luma listened, eyes wide, even though she already knew the ending. And Mama? She asked quietly. She was brave. The bravest, Jack said, his voice soft now. She saved you. Then she came back for you. Then she saved me too. Luma rested her head on his arm. Do you think she watches us? Jack looked at the stars just starting to appear above. I think she's with us always. Luma pointed to the sky. When I'm older, I want to build a ship. I want to find the bad people who hurt her. Jack's voice turned firm yet kind. Revenge is not what she wanted. She wanted you to live, to grow, to love. Luma nodded slowly. Okay. Then I'll build a ship to help others. That, Jack said, she'd be proud of. Later that night, the wind picked up. A soft snow began to fall. Jack tucked Luma into her bed beside the fire. She curled up in a soft blanket, holding her small carved bear, the one Jack had made her during their first winter. Good night, Papa, she whispered. Jack froze for a second. She had never called him that before. Not once in a whole year. He turned, eyes wet, heart full. Good night, little star. Outside the wind swirled, but the cabin stood strong, high above the world, far from cities, far from noise, far from war. A safe place, a new home. Inside it, a girl not from this world slept peacefully. A child once abandoned, now cherished, and beside her, a man once broken, now whole. Together, under the sky, they had built something new, not just shelter, not just survival, a family.